my people. This is Leticia Andrade with
Sarah Coral.
Woohoo! We just want to welcome you to our new podcast series. We're going to be bringing you more real estate updates, more real estate insights from our perspective to you, our audience. We are here to just give you some educational insights of what the market is doing. And we just cannot wait to share more and more throughout 2025 with you.
Yes, I'm excited to be here. We're filming at our Elmhurst office today. So we're enjoying the beautiful winter weather. It's not bad yet. So we're going to take advantage of this and start to talk about some things that we experienced as your realtor partner in 2024 and then projecting into 2025.
I love that. And so let's go ahead and start off with our first question. So we want to know, what surprised you the most about the real estate market in 2024?
So I think we still saw a lot of multiple offer situations when it came to buyers. Interest rates rose a little bit, but remained steady oftentimes. And we were not able to just make that offer to the seller and then begin to negotiate individually. Almost every offer I made went to multiple offers. And then we were in a competitive situation. So I think we're still coming off of 2023 where we just did a lot of highest and best negotiations. And then in 2024, we kind of were able to analyze a little differently, but still had to really put our best foot forward.
I always say, and this is something that I wanted to instill in a lot of my buyers, I am buyer heavy in 2024. Hopefully I can shift that into the listing world like you, Sarah. But with my buyers, I always believe to let them know, let's make our first offer our highest and best offer. Let's put our best foot forward from the beginning so that we can definitely be in that competitive mindset, so that they know that we're putting our best forward even in the beginning. Even if they call for highest and best offer, we want to make sure that we do that right off the bat, because sometimes these sellers are not considering highest and best offer. They're just going to take a look at all the offers and make their decisions their first round. And that's what I found, that we cannot kind of like either lowball them or think that we're going to get the price that we want because the seller had the advantage. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. They still did. We're still seeing really low market times. And when we talk about a buyer's market versus a seller's market versus a neutral market, so a neutral market, we're looking at about 4 to 6 months of market time. We have not been in a neutral market since pre-COVID, since 2019 and earlier. So right now we're seeing very low market times. Of course, it varies by municipality or by county, but we're seeing, things in the average of sometimes 10 days on the market or 21 days on the market, and that's taking everything. But often when you and I are making offers, it's gone by Monday. And things go on the market on Thursday, so we're talking on the 5th day on the market, we're already done. So when you see that property, you need to make the decision quickly. We often don't get a chance for a second showing. You often don't even get to sleep on it. We need to make the offer right away and then move forward and hope that we are chosen when we're bidding.
And that's the one thing as far as us making offers and just pulling the trigger and knowing right when to pull that trigger, because I've seen as low as 3 days on the market.
Yeah.
And that is no time for us to just, lallygag or kind of think it over. Like you said, we don't have time to do a second showing. So for some of those buyers that are hesitant, they have seen losses on homes that might be perfect for their family. And that's sometimes where we have to kind of just advise our buyers accordingly, even our sellers, that we know, and this is something that I love and that I'm learning from you as well, working with sellers, is that we're creating large spreadsheets and letting them know, like, hey, as soon as the offer comes in, we are presenting it to our sellers. As soon as that offer comes in, if we have 5 to 7 offers, we're creating that spreadsheet so that we can compare to see what's going to be the best option for our sellers. Because we are looking for a good offer to be presented, but there are many factors that we're looking into for a seller to consider.
Yes.
And accepting the best offer that they're going to be receiving from that buyer.
Yes, and I know it's often troublesome for buyers because they think that the seller is only looking for price.
Nope.
And they are definitely not. So they're looking at the level of earnest money and the level of down payment. So those shift. The type of financing.
Yes.
They want to know if it's going to be as is. Sellers don't want to be nickel and dime during the home inspection period, so that's important to them. There are just a lot of factors. You can see something close 2 months later and be upset and think, gosh, I offered higher than that, but you don't know what the terms, the rest of the things that we can't see that were on that offer that made that buyer stronger than our buyer's offer. So that's why education and doing a buyer consultation at the beginning of working together is so important, because we can set those expectations and we can also go over the negotiating points and everything that we can do as buyers to make our offer the strongest when we approach those multiple offer situations.
I think that's a good segue in letting some of our audience understand what are some of those determining factors of why a seller might not pick the highest price offer.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it's all about who your real estate professional is that you're working with and understanding what some of those strategies might be.
Mm-hmm.
It, like we said, it might be the financing issue. You don't know if they're putting a larger down payment.
True.
Or what type of loan are they receiving. You know, there's a lot of different factors, and there's a lot of factors where some people still think that our sellers are eager to give a closing cost credit, which it's kind of difficult, right?
Yes.
So if you have 5 offers on the table, 2 of those out of the 5 are asking for closing cost credits and the other 3 are not. That can be a determining factor for a seller to say, hey, what's going to be my bottom line? What's going to be my take home? You know, what's going to be my net in my pocket, right? Opposed to maybe picking someone that may need, and that sometimes is not looking like a strong offer.
Correct. When
a buyer makes an offer that's asking the seller for closing cost credit.
Yeah. And it just happens to be the numbers that work the best for that buyer, but the seller views it as a potential issue and wondering why do they need that, and looking at other people who are not asking for one and then potentially eliminating that one. We also have not really been able to submit any offers contingent upon the sale of an existing home. So that one's been gone for years.
Wow, guys, and a lot of people don't understand, and this is where the scarcity of sellers putting their house on the market, because they are scared that they're not going to be able to find their next home.
Yes.
Would you agree?
Yeah, so there, and I saw something last night where the broker private remarks said the sale of this home was contingent upon the family finding suitable housing, because if they don't have anywhere to go, we cannot close on that home. So we're seeing a lot of that too. So imagine they need to get under contract in order to be able to make that next offer. Will the seller that they're offering on, will they be open to their home having to be able to close? So it's really tough. So that's one of the first things I think that sellers weed out.
Yep.
They go through, they look, oh, this person is contingent upon the sale of another property. We're not even looking at that. So they can't handle the domino effect. They want the cleanest offer, the best foot forward right from the beginning.
I agree. And also on the buyer's perspective, because I'm dealing with this as well, is that I advise my buyers that we as buyers have to be the most flexible to the seller's needs. So what does that mean? If the seller is asking for a specific closing date, for example, if they need more time to find their next home, we as the buyers have to be the most flexible with that closing date, letting them know we are your buyer, or we are the person that we want you to accept our offer, because we will be the most convenient and the most flexible for what you need moving forward in your next purchase, or
easy to work with.
Yes. And that also means that you have an easy loan officer to work with, that they're going to be available if they pick up the phone and call the loan officer or call your specific team member, that they're going to be readily available. And that we don't see that very much in the market sometimes.
No, I know that's really important to me, because when I get home from showings at 8:30 at night and I need numbers ran because my client wants to make that fast offer, I can't be waiting until Monday at 9 when someone gets in to run numbers we need to make that offer potentially tonight. I don't care if it's 11 o'clock at night, but we need to get that offer in.
Absolutely.
So really important.
Yeah, flexibility, availability is extremely important in today's market, especially when we're trying to win in a multiple offer situation.
Yes.
So I love that. I love those little key points, those little tidbits that you're only gonna find with an experienced real estate professional like Sarah and myself. I think it's extremely important. And what I love about working with you, Sarah, is that we're able to kind of feed off each other. We're able to give each other real life stories from our clients, so that we're able to help our next family to the best, as the best real estate professional as possible, because we have those real life obstacles that we are overcoming. And once we share those stories, once we share those real life experiences, our next deal is going to be as smooth as pie, yes. I think, you know? Mm-hmm. So that's something definitely that I love to share with each other, because those real life experiences will help us definitely for the next.
Yeah, and it's great because I mostly work in the suburbs and you mostly work in the city. So there isn't crossover, but there's assistance in the partnership. So when I have something that I need help on, it's so great to be able to call you and work together on something. And then if you encounter something that you haven't heard of or seen yet, maybe I have. And it's so great to bounce ideas off of each other and see what the other person is experiencing in their business.
And you might be wondering, like, hey, what is this dynamic, right? Well, we work for the same company. We're Fulton Grace Real Estate Brokers. And this is what I love. And I love the community that we have in our office at Fulton Grace, where we are building together, even though we have different markets that we are marketing ourselves into. But I think that our collaboration is what's going to make us even more successful in 2025, because we have that vast experience and then also that community and the help from one another, where we're like helping each other grow.
Yeah. Imagine, because if I have a great inspector, or you have a great lender, or we need someone that's going to shoot the most amazing video for a property, we can always ask the other one, hey, who have you used recently? I have a specific project that I have this in mind for. Can you help me? So I love that. The morale and everything that we get to facilitate, it's great.
Yeah, and that's why I love being at Fulton Grace. I think that majority of our real estate brokers love to collaborate and work together. Yeah. Because I think, within your network, what do they say? Your network is your net worth. So I think that's great that we have that building and growth mentality within our Fulton Grace family that I just adore, and that we definitely embrace each and every day. So I love that.
Yes.
I love that. What do you think? Move on to the next question?
Yeah, let's go.
Cool. Let's go. So I think this was intriguing for us. What is your take on the affordability challenges? Is there a clear path to improving it?
Yes. Okay, so first we'll talk about mortgage rates. So new data and predictions for 2025 have come out about mortgage rates. We're still seeing mortgage rates in the mid-sixes. They analyze those by quarter, and then different real estate experts come out with their prediction. So we're seeing something kind of similar. The problem is that people have memories of much lower interest rates.
Yes.
So what happens when an interest rate increases for a particular borrower is that they're not able to afford the same purchase price they were before, because they have not built up a significant down payment in comparison to that most recent time, to where they can get a lot more in the home. When interest rates drop, people feel like, well, my down payment is the same, but I can afford more. So that's where the affordability comes in. So what happens is people will be looking at a $300,000 home, interest rates rise, and then they don't feel comfortable beyond $275,000 or beyond $250,000. And that affects us in our search, because we set the search parameters and then we see that we're not finding anything. And the easy thing to do is to go up in price, but we haven't been able to do that. Once rates rise, we're very stuck in that search criteria.
And that's what a lot of people don't understand. I think that when we guide our buyers and sellers, especially our buyers, we're guiding them not more on their purchase power, I feel, is what can they afford on a monthly basis? What are they comfortable with on a monthly basis as far as paying on their mortgage? And I think that that's going to be primary, especially moving forward in 2025, is I want you to have the mindset of, what is my comfortable mortgage payment for 2025? And that's where we work our numbers backwards and say, okay, if we're looking at a $3,000 or a $3,500 mortgage payment, how much and where are we able to buy, or what is our purchase price at that point, so that now we're working the numbers backwards so that our buyers feel comfortable with that monthly mortgage payment. So that's something that I definitely like to encourage in my buyer consultation is, hey, let's think of it in a way of, what am I comfortable with? I want to make sure that my buyers are the most comfortable with their monthly mortgage payment so that they can feel comfortable with the entire process.
Right.
Because the entire process can be overwhelming.
It is.
Especially if it's someone that is a first-time home buyer.
Mm-hmm.
They don't understand the ins and outs, or maybe they're increasing their monthly housing expense
From
significantly.
Right.
Yeah,
Yes.
from rents
Mm-hmm.
of, let's say, $1,500 to now having maybe double that, $2,500
Yeah.
per month. And so that's sometimes a big sticker shock to some people. So what I like to say, and I kind of like to give a little challenge
Okay.
for my buyers. So when I challenge a buyer, I say, hey, if I'm meeting you for the first time and we are, going over the buyer consultation from A to Z,
Mm-hmm.
I say, let's assume that you already bought your house and that you are making your monthly mortgage payment. So what does that mean?
Mm-hmm.
So if you are paying rent of $1,500, but we are comfortable with paying $2,500, let's go ahead and put that extra amount away in a savings account, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's say they're not ready to pull the trigger, but they already feel like they're already making that $2,500 monthly mortgage payment, and they're putting that extra away. They're still paying their rental costs,
Mm-hmm.
but they're putting that extra $1,000 into a bank account, which at the end of the day, it's going to be a benefit for them.
Yes.
Because they're saving more for possibly their down payment or closing costs.
Yeah.
So it's a win-win for my buyers. So I think that that's something that I like to challenge them, because now they're going to feel like, ooh, I'm making that monthly mortgage payment.
And you gave them a goal.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay. So, and then if we think about it time-wise, if it takes you 30 days to find a house and 60 days to close, that was an extra $3,000. That's going to bring the stress level down.
Yes.
Because they have a little bit of cushion. So if there's a repair that comes up or an unexpected cost, they're not going to be as worried as they would have been without that little exercise you gave them. Yes.
I think it's a great exercise just because, they feel more comfortable. And I think that it is a big stress reliever, because what I have found, and this is what I advise all of my buyers, no house is going to be a perfect house. And the job of a real estate home inspector is to find out what is wrong with the house, because no house, even a new construction house, is not perfect.
No.
Right? And so that's their job, is that we want to make sure, regardless if it's something cosmetic or what we want to reassure them, is the job of a home inspector is to find out big material defects that might be wrong that my buyer may not be able to afford if they wanted to move forward with purchasing the home.
Yes.
So that's where we have to change that mind shift and say, hey buyers, no house is a perfect house, so we have to compromise on a couple of things. And what I like to advise them is that, hey, we can find a granny special. Do you know what a granny special is?
No, tell me.
Oh man, a granny special is the house is move-in ready, but it might not have all the beautiful upgrades that you're looking for in a brand new house. So that means that everything is working, everything is functional. It might have a great foundation, but it's still, back in the granny times, outdated.
Okay.
And maybe in the near future, they will be able to upgrade that kitchen, upgrade those bathrooms. And the convenient thing about those upgrades is that they're going to have immediate equity in that home if they decided to move forward with that home. And I say equity and sweat equity is the best equity.
Yes.
Because you're going to be able to see your property value increase significantly once you make those upgrades to your new home.
Yes. And okay, so you mentioned the home inspection. So imagine that the home inspector works for you as the buyer. You hire them, you pay for them, they give you a report. Nobody else sees that report except you and your team. Your attorney, your realtor, you go through that, you share it with the contractor. That's your tool to decide if you're going to buy that house. if you need to ask for credits, or if you need to have repairs done while the seller still owns it in order for you to buy it. And I often see first-time home buyers, especially, we're leaving the inspection, we're getting the summary, everybody feels good, we're great. Then a day later, they get the report. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, this house is falling down. I didn't realize, it really isn't.
Yeah.
That inspector's job
Yes.
is to point out every last defect.
Yeah.
They can't have any surprises. They don't want that phone call in 3 years to say, hey, you missed something. Their job is to work for you and to absolutely paint the picture 100% clarity of how that house is. So, I like that we can present that to them, having a great inspector and having someone feel comfortable. So you talked about having them feel comfortable over the numbers. Now we have them feel comfortable over the state of the home. Everything that we do throughout the buyer process is to get that buyer to feel the most comfortable and feel absolutely happy over the moon on closing day with what they purchased.
I agree with that. And I love real life stories, and I love sharing real life stories with you, Sarah, because you also give me a different perspective of maybe what a seller is thinking and also what a buyer is thinking, because the buyer is going to be the most nervous about this purchase because it might be the biggest purchase in their entire life. So I do have a buyer right now, and we're purchasing in Elmhurst.
Okay.
And no, I'm sorry, not in Elmhurst.
We're in Elmhurst.
I know, we're in Elmhurst. We're purchasing in Elmwood Park. So Elmwood Park and a lot of suburbs have their own village inspections, guys. So besides our home inspection, the village comes out to take a look at the home and to make sure that everything is up to par with their village guidelines and whatever their criteria, requires.
And do you know when they do that?
Well, they have to do a pre-home inspection first.
They have to do it before you list.
Well, guess what?
This one wasn't done?
It wasn't. Guys, I know.
And so then that means that seller did not work with a
The
real
village.
estate broker
Yes!
that knew what they were preparing their seller for. So that's
Correct.
unfortunate. Okay.
Correct.
So this step was skipped.
Yeah, that step was skipped. So while we are under contract, we're waiting for this village inspection report. And why is that nerve-wracking for us real estate brokers? Because we don't know what that report is going to reveal. And so that's something that we have to be embraced or brace ourselves for,
Right.
because we don't know what it's going to reveal and we don't want to scare the buyer, right? So in this particular case, we got the report back. It wasn't so bad, but it's not so bad because I've seen plenty of these reports where it has a list of 30 things that we have to deal with, right? And I actually have one on one of my listings.
Oh.
But it also gives us a good insight of, like you said, the house is not falling apart.
No.
There's nothing really wrong with
No.
the house. And actually, this home is a really solid home. And I love the home. I think it's a great investment. I think it's a great home for his family. So my buyer, I felt very comfortable and very confident with directing my buyer, saying, hey, it is a good home. Let's take a really good look and dissect what they're asking for to see if we're able to negotiate some of these items that came up on the report.
Yeah.
So 2 of the items, number 1 and number 2, came up. They have to replace the driveway. So it's a side driveway, okay? It does have some cracks in the concrete, things like that. Some of it, which was reported in the home inspection report as being some kind of safety hazard. It can be a trip hazard,
ice.
yeah, or something like that, which we were fully aware of in the home inspection. But now the village is requiring for us to replace that driveway. Okay, so this is going to be a big cost. And so what we want to just share with this buyer is that we know that this driveway is not going to be able to be replaced right now in this season, meaning in the winter season, that we're going to have to wait until spring or summer to get this driveway replaced.
Yeah.
So it's going to be up to my buyer whether or not they understand that, and it's my job to make them feel comfortable so that they understand, hey, what is the cost behind this? And also, it's not a big deal. It's not something we're dealing with inside of the home. This is just a driveway. This is something that, regardless, they were possibly thinking of replacing anyway.
Down the road.
Yeah, down the road. But now we have to work with the village in order for us to satisfy that village inspection requirement that they're going to require within a certain time frame. But the village is fully aware that right now is not the season to replace it. We do have some concrete guys coming out today or tomorrow to give us a quote of how much that's going to cost. And that's something that we're going to work with that seller to say, hey, seller, they gave us an offer of how much they want to give us to replace that, but we know it's going to cost significantly more.
Especially concrete versus blacktop.
You got it. You got it. And that is an option. If they wanted to break down the concrete and then put, asphalt.
Okay.
That's something that we can take a look at and see what numbers work best, because concrete is going to be more expensive.
Yeah.
So long story short, we have to work with the village. We have to work with these specific village inspection reports to make our buyers feel most comfortable, so that it could work on the buyer's behalf and also the seller's behalf, because regardless, the seller is going to have to deal with it in regards to either us as the buyers or another buyer coming in and purchasing the home. So at the end of the day, if we work together, buyer and seller, we can still make this deal work.
Yeah.
And this is where it's like having that collaboration with the listing agent and then also me representing the buyer. It is so great to work with people that are interested in making a deal happen. We don't want to just break a contract just to break a contract. We want to make sure, I advise my client, it's still a great home. We understand that these things need to be repaired, but at the end of the day, you're going to get a great home. The value is there. We know, and we got that appraisal, and a lot of people don't understand. Us as buyers, we do not have to share that appraisal price with the seller. That is we pay for that appraisal. So we have the right, if that appraisal comes in higher than what we're buying the home for,
goes back to your instant equity.
Oh, instant equity. And we do not need to share that amount of appraisal. All we have to share is the appraisal came in. It came in at what we're purchasing the home for.
Satisfactory.
As is.
Satisfactory.
Yes, exactly. As is. And that's very important, because sometimes, depending on what your financing is, if you're a conventional or FHA or whatever it is, the as is component in an appraisal is super important. And as long as we have satisfied what that lender is looking for, a as is satisfactory appraisal, then we can move forward with our loan.
Yes. Yeah, that's on my checklist. Was the appraisal satisfactory? So I always look forward to getting past that hurdle, because it feels like we do a lot of work at the beginning and then we're waiting for the appraisal, and that's one of the last pieces that we need for our clear to close.
Yes. And let's talk about that. I think a lot of people, they're like, what is that? And why do we make such a big deal once we get the clear to close? I think that, as me and Sarah have advised, we do what's called a buyer consultation, a complimentary buyer consultation, which we feel that is the most important when we're working with the buyer, so that they understand what the full process is and why we get so excited when we get a clear to close. That means that our buyer has satisfied all of the lender guidelines of what is required so they could obtain their mortgage.
Yes.
Or how would you describe it?
I would say the same. So for the buyer consultation, it's casual. It's meant to be stress relieving. We do it over coffee or do it in the office, and we sit down and we talk about the whole process. Maybe you've been pre-approved already, maybe you haven't. Maybe you've started your search and you're in a bunch of apps and you favorited things and you can't wait to get to those properties and tell me what addresses they are. But I want to break it down. I want to walk through all the steps of what we're going to do. And then depending on, I usually like to gauge the buyer and how deep we're going to go into the negotiation talk, because I like to have an example of a property that they already know that they love, so we can use those examples and say, okay, this is going to be maybe as is. This is going to be going over list price. This is going to be maybe escalating your offer, maybe doing an appraisal gap waiver. And if I start to see the eyes glaze over, I know we have to save that. We have to save it until we've already seen the property and we're using a specific example tailored to that specific buyer's needs so that they don't get overwhelmed. So buyer consultation is so important. And the same thing with sellers.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. since you work with a lot of sellers, what do you see, or what would be your highlight, or in that seller consultation, what would you highlight to that seller so they also can feel most comfortable when they're receiving those offers, and when they're kind of guiding, or you're guiding them through that process?
Yes. So I like to break it down from a buyer perspective. So I want to start all the way from preparing the home. How are the buyers going to see your home? What type of curb appeal do you have? And as you and I, the realtor, we fumble at the door to get the lockbox open. How does your front facade, your front porch, your patio, the doorway, is everything clean, cobwebs, you name it? They're going to be looking.
Oh my goodness. And I think that we talked about that previously, is that the first impression is the most important. And that curb appeal, as you're walking up to the house, even from the driveway or from the street parking all the way up to the front door, they're looking at, is the light bulb working? Is, you know, is it clean? Is it, all of that is so important. That first impression is the most important for anyone coming to either purchase your home, and are they going to want to make an offer on that specific home? It's so important.
We have to get sellers to transition the mindset of living here to live in it, and your ease of everyday usage, to a product that we are selling to make you the most money. And while you love to have a coffee maker out, and your towels and your soaps and everything on the counter, it has to go.
Yes.
Because we don't want to do a ton of work staging the home for your photos, and then a week later when we go live, everything's back to the way you lived in it. And we want the buyers to see it online, fall in love with it, book a showing, get there, do the walkthrough, and think, my God, I can see myself living here. I can see my furniture, my bed, my TV over here. And then they're going to make an offer based on how easy it is for them to imagine themselves there. So I think that's really important. With sellers, I like to go over, okay, you've lived here X number of years. What are the pros and cons that you see in your home? And it's hard to think, but if you think back and, okay, well, I didn't like this and I didn't like that, but this is one of the best parts. Well, let's talk about that, because when your feedback surveys start to come in, maybe we're going to get those negative feedback comments from other realtors, as they're being so kind and courteous to help us know why that buyer didn't make an offer. Or maybe we're going to have just a field day of people fighting over our home because they love all the same things that you love. So I think setting expectations, whether we're working with a buyer or with a seller, is excellent. It's the way to go. You're going to lay the groundwork and the framework for a successful transaction. And if we can get ahead of people being upset about things that they didn't realize, when you hear this issue in a month, well, we already talked about it. So it really brings the emotion level down. And I think when we're preparing our sellers and getting ready to go to market, of which we're going to be doing a lot of right now, even though we look like we may not be as busy because it's the holidays, we're preparing everyone who's going to be going live in January, in February, in March. We're meeting with sellers, we're doing walkthroughs, we're suggesting repairs, and we're getting ahead of it, because no one wants to be cramming at the last minute to go live. You see, I mean, we've seen the sweaty faces. We've seen the dog in the crate. We've seen grandma coming over to help, and we don't want that. We want everyone to ease into being able to sell their home, because selling your home means a domino effect of other things.
Yes.
You have other places to go, other things to see. You're moving out of state. You're getting a new job. You're having a baby. All of those things are stressful. So our job is to bring the stress level down, no matter what type of transaction we're doing.
Absolutely. And that's the difference, guys. And who you work with matters. As far as working with a professional real estate broker, I'm a realist as well. We have to let you know, because we have to be that third eye. We have to let you know what's working, what may not be working, so that we can give you the outcome that you're looking for as a seller. We can give you that outcome that you're looking for as a buyer. And I think it works hand in hand, and that's what we're here to advise you on, is to make sure that we prepare you properly so that we could relieve as much stress as possible, so that you can have the most best experience with us as your real estate professionals.
Yes.
I love that.
Yeah. I think that's a perfect segue into jumping into 2025 and seeing what type of trends we're going to see, how the real estate market will change or potentially stay the same. So I think as you see more videos coming out, we'll be talking about mortgage rates and what we're experiencing when we're submitting offers. foreclosures remaining low, all of those things that people like to see now that the economic worries that people often had over the 2024 state of the end of the year have kind of subsided, and we're going to get into the spring market. We're going to see waves of inventory coming on. We often say that the first Monday after New Year's is the start of the spring market. We see another big inventory push after the Super Bowl.
Yes.
Everyone has bought their new TV on sale.
Yes.
They bought their last year's model of the TV. They're ready for Super Bowl. Everybody comes over. Then you clean everything out. You have put your Christmas decorations away. All of your holidays are gone, and it's time to buckle down and get ready to list your house and get ready for the spring and summer market. So we're really excited for that.
And so what I love about December month is that a lot of people are already planning the sales of their homes or the purchase of a new home.
Yes.
And this is where that goal setting comes into play, where it's like, hey, it's like we want to get ready and stay ready. And that's what we say is our model, so that we can make sure that either our buyers or our sellers or both, right? They might
be both.
Yeah, they might be both. They might be saying, hey, we're going to prepare our home to sell. And then at the same time, simultaneously, be looking out there in the market for our next home. Or like we said, we have people that are relocating because they have a new job, because they've been promoted. So there's so many factors in everything that we do on a day-to-day basis that we as your real estate professionals are here to help you ease through that and kind of segue you into the next phase of what your family is going to be going to or towards or moving towards, right? All these goals, these goal settings to make sure that we make it as smooth and easy as possible.
Yes. Well, thank you. This was
you.
fantastic.
I love it. I love it. So thank you so much. Now stay tuned for more, either short clips or episodes, but you will get the full episode right here on our YouTube channel. So please go ahead and hit that subscribe button. If I said it right? Subscribe button, so that you can follow us to get your best real estate tips, advice, guidance. And if you are looking to buy, sell, lease, or invest in real estate, Sarah and I are your girls. We're your real estate girls at Fulton Grace that can help you and guide you. So if you are interested in contacting us directly, we can give you that buyer consultation, that one-on-one that you're looking for, either to buy or sell. And like we said, we work in different markets, but we are your real estate professionals that want to guide you each and every step of the way. So go ahead and click on subscribe, and we will have our information in the post so that you can call us directly for that one-on-one.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.